This is absolutely criminal.
Good evening, everyone. This is Absolutely Criminal. I'm Andrew Martin, and beside me is nobody tonight because Tiffie Lou had to work late. So I'm sorry about that, but we will hear her in some narration later. So if you need your Tiffie Lou fix, like I certainly do, stay tuned for that. Welcome, Wesley John Holmes and Nunya. Wesley, you're looking good with that new wrench and the membership symbol. You can see all of our lovely insider information members scrolling across the bottom of the screen there. And Wesley was so considerate, the names are alphabetized, and there he goes right there with his W. I didn't have to rearrange names, insert, I just tacked him right on. So thank you, Wesley. Sparkles, welcome. A Million Sparkles is here. Awesome. Tiffie Lou is not here, but we're going to talk about. I came across this story the other day, a double murder in Australia, and first person I thought of was Wesley. And I asked him if he'd ever heard of it, and his answer is probably going to surprise you. We'll get to that in a little bit. And then it's day 4 of the trial of Hannah Gutierrez-Reed. She was the armorer and props person on the set of the film Rust, the Alec Baldwin movie, where tragically Halyna Hutchins was shot, the cinematographer, during a rehearsal. And then, of course, later we'll get to Amy Cray Cray Day. All right. Yeah, Tiffie Lou does the best voiceover work, so we'll hear that in just a bit. Okay, so here we go with the story of Jesse Baird and Luke Davies. Now, Wesley, is Jesse Baird a very well-known person down there? Like, is he one of our Ryan Seacrest, maybe, or is he more of a niche celebrity? Let us know. It's a very interesting case. Unfortunately, recently they did find 2 bodies, and they were identified as the victims, and I'll show them to you here. First, this is the suspect and the man who led them to the bodies, Bo Lamar Condon. And hi, T.S. Jackson. You made it to Alive. Welcome. Good to have you here. So this is Bo Lamar Condon, and he is suspected of murdering Jesse Baird on the right, age 26, and Luke Davies on the left. They were a couple, and Jesse Baird was a TV presenter. Yeah, he was a rising star on Australian television, Wesley says. So tragically cut short. I mean, 26. That's just, it seems unfair in the universe, but, we see this all the time, unfortunately. All right, I'll give you a little bit of background on this case or what I found, and Wesley, feel free to chime in. I asked him if he had heard of this case, and he not only had, but he had worked with Luke Davies at Qantas Airlines, right? And were you in the cabin or the cockpit, Wesley? They used to say Qantas never crashed. I always remember that about that airline. I'm not sure if that's true anymore, but yeah, Luke Davies was a flight attendant for Qantas Airlines. The tragic case surrounding the disappearance and subsequent discovery of the bodies believed to be Jesse Baird, a 26-year-old former television presenter, and his partner, Luke Davies, a 29-year-old flight attendant, has captivated and horrified Australia. Jesse Baird and Luke Davies were last seen alive on February 19th at Baird's residence in the eastern Sydney suburb of Paddington. Concerns for their safety escalated when their bloodied belongings were discovered in a skip container in Cronulla, approximately 30 kilometers or about 18 miles away from Baird's home. The couple was reported missing, prompting a widespread search and investigation by the New South Wales police. And yeah, Wesley John Holmes was an international flight attendant. Sounds like a pretty good gig. After an extensive search, the bodies believed to be those of Baird and Davies were found on a property in Bungonia, a rural town in southern New South Wales, approximately 200 kilometers south of central Sydney. The grim discovery was made possible by information provided by Senior Constable Beau Lamar Condon. He's that 29-year-old New South Wales police officer who had previously been in a romantic relationship with Baird. The bodies were located in 2 surf bags, partially covered by debris, making a significant breakthrough in the case. Now, Beau Lamar Condon was arrested and charged with the murders of Baird and Davies. Prior to the discovery of the bodies, he surrendered to the authorities at Bondi Police Station, where he was subsequently suspended from his duties without pay. His involvement in the case, including the provision of critical information leading to the discovery of the bodies, has been a focal point of the investigation. He'd been a police officer since 2019 and was known to have a previous relationship with Jesse Baird, as we said before. The investigation revealed that a police registered firearm belonging to Lamar Condon was discharged inside Baird's Paddington home on the day of their disappearance. Neighbors reported hearing an argument and gunshots that morning, adding to the evidence against Lamar Condon. The use of a police firearm in the crime has prompted further scrutiny and an investigation by the Law Enforcement Conduct Commission, aiming to prevent such incidents in the future. The case had a profound impact on Australian society, I would imagine, raising concerns about police conduct, the safety of the LGBTQ plus community, and the broader implications of the use of firearms by law enforcement officers. The New South Wales police were disinvited from Sydney's famous Mardi Gras celebrations, reflecting the public's shaken trust in law enforcement due to the nature of the crime. As for now, Beau Lamar Condon remains in custody, facing charges for the murders of Baird and Davies. Legal proceedings are ongoing, with the case continuing to unfold, and the community and families await justice, of course. He said this policeman was some kind of freak. He'd stalk celebrities at night, while by day in law enforcement. Sounds a little bit like Russ, doesn't he? A respected officer by date and then prowler by night. Man. So yeah, more to come on that. Wesley, feel free to chime in if you have more information than I just read there, but I'd like to do a story about this in the future episode on this. Tiffie Lou. Tiffie Lou's in the chat. What's going on, Tiffie Lou? Not busy? Let's see. Okay. Yes, thank you, Sparkles, for the reminder. To the lurkers, I love lurkers. I am a lurker. I lurk on many different podcasts and live streams, but don't forget to hit the thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't and would like to give us a try. Okay. So that is the unfortunate story of Jesse Baird. Yeah, I think we'll do more, Andrew, on this interesting stuff. Definitely. Absolutely. Okay. Next. Let's see. I don't have Tiffie Lou here pushing the other buttons, but I'll survive somehow, honey. Don't leave me alone again. Okay, so the trial of Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, she was the armorer on the set of Rust, as we mentioned earlier, is going on right now. It's day 4, And we'll give you some updates on that and show you the prosecution's opening statement, which seemed to me, I don't know, a little bit, they have some strong evidence against her, in my opinion, and a lot of things that I didn't know before this trial started. So we're going to play. I told them, Tiffie Lou, that you're not here tonight, but we're going to hear your beautiful narration. And I'm going to play the short episode we did on this about a year ago, and to get you caught up on the case. Hope everything's accurate. But we'll play that now, and then I'll be back after that, and we'll discuss the opening statements by the prosecution that took place, I think, on Friday. Yeah, Chick Rose said taser incident this cop was involved in. He has always been a coward, referring to Lamar Condon down in Australia. Yeah, we have those kind of cops here too, unfortunately. So, but let's move on to Alec Baldwin and the Rust shooting, taking the life tragically of Halyna Hutchins. We'll take a look at the episode that Tiffie Lou did for this.
Hutchins was a cinematographer on the rise. She was making a movie with Alec Baldwin in the middle of a New Mexico ghost town. On October 21st, 2021, they were rehearsing inside an old church when something went terribly wrong. It wasn't clear what exactly had happened at first. Baldwin was practicing drawing his weapon when there was a deafening noise. 2 of the 3 crew members behind the camera dropped to the ground. A live round, a real projectile, had been fired from Alec's gun, and director Joel Sousa was hit in the shoulder. Halyna, unfortunately, was struck in a much more lethal place. Despite a helicopter rushing her to the University of New Mexico Hospital, she was pronounced dead on arrival. But what actually happened? And who was responsible? The film, a Western called Rust, was now on hold indefinitely as the investigation began. It appeared that a deadly chain of safety failures led to the senseless loss. There appeared to be no straightforward answer initially, but more details have since come into focus. The lives of everyone on set that deadly day have been irreversibly changed. But who's to blame? There's so much finger pointing here, it's gone circular and come back around a few times. And this is absolutely criminal. Halyna Hutchins was born on April 10, 1979, in a small village in northern Ukraine. She lived in Los Angeles and graduated from the American Film Institute in 2015. After just 4 years in 2019, she was recognized as a rising star by American Cinematographer magazine. Although the production got off to a rocky start, which we will tell you about shortly, Halyna appeared thrilled and enthusiastic. She posted Instagram pictures of herself on set, relishing the horseback riding available on her days off. She undoubtedly had a future brighter than the New Mexican sun. Regrettably, she would never see another beautiful desert sunrise. She was struck down while performing her passion. It's clear, as far as we know, that nobody in the fateful chapel could have predicted what was going to happen that day. No single person was wholly responsible, yet the actions of a small group would converge to determine her destiny. Alec Baldwin likely needs no introduction, and he has long been a polarizing figure in Hollywood, from the time he left a voicemail for his then 11-year-old daughter, calling her a rude, thoughtless little pig.
You have humiliated me for the last time, and when I come out there next week, I'm going to fly out there for the day. Just to straighten you out.
To pleading guilty in 2019 and attending anger management, following an altercation over a parking space. But, love him or hate him, Alec has had a successful decades-long career, but has it all come to an end with one pull of a trigger? Baldwin has claimed many times he didn't pull the trigger. Alec Baldwin has repeatedly denied any wrongdoing and has not been charged with any crime. But some think the walls are closing in, and he may be held responsible in some way. Alec was clearly distraught after the shooting, and we can't imagine the amount of guilt he must feel for being part of a chain of events that led to Halyna's death. One of the other main figures in this tragic tale is Hannah Gutierrez-Reed. This picture of her did not age well, to say the least. She would lament the fate of her career immediately after the accident, as heard in this police video.
What's your job there with them?
I'm the armor, or at least I was. Just want to get the fuck out of here and never show my face in this industry ever again. Well, I wouldn't say that. I'm like the only female armorer in the game, and I just fucked up my whole entire career.
Hannah was a rookie armorer or weapons master. Her job was to acquire, inspect, instruct, and supply prop guns to the actors. She had many responsibilities, but perhaps her most important job was ensuring the safety of actors and crew by acting as the last line of defense in a weapons chain of custody. Whatever her role in the incident, Hannah was clearly surprised and couldn't imagine how it could have happened. The 24-year-old is the daughter of renowned and respected armorer Thel Reed. She undoubtedly made Papa proud in her choice of profession, but ultimately she would never live up to her dad's sterling reputation in the film industry. But there is another side to Hannah's story. She was performing double duty, also acting as the prop master. That would involve storing, transporting, and prepping each prop for the day every day. This was not ideal, to put it mildly, but we are all being asked to do more with less these days. Was it just a sign of the times or gross mismanagement? In addition to all of that, there was one more sticky wicket for the weapon master. Despite usual protocols, she did not hand Mr. Baldwin the gun, merely placing it on a prop cart amid two other guns. Assistant Director Dave Halls retrieved the weapon from the cart and gave it to Alec. This move was inexplicable, according to armoring experts. Dave clearly believed that the gun was unloaded, but admitted later he didn't visually confirm this. He allegedly declared it a cold gun, meaning unloaded and safe, when he handed it over to the 30 Rock star. Alec Baldwin would go on to apparently break what is often described as the #1 rule of gun safety. Never point a gun at anything you're not prepared to shoot. The plane of that barrel should never have aligned with any human being, even when unloaded. But unknown to anyone, Alec's gun was loaded, and a bullet was about to cross paths with director Joel Sousa and Halyna Hutchins. Although he was as surprised as anyone at that moment, police say he definitely pulled the trigger. He would vehemently deny this, both at the time and numerous times hence. Director Dave Halls was the penultimate line of defense, and according to court documents, he failed by not properly inspecting the gun. As for why the armorer didn't personally supply the handgun to the actor, it was because of her double duties. This is not the first fatality involving a prop gun on a movie set. Arguably, the most famous accident occurred on March 31st, 1993, on the set of The Crow. Budding superstar Brandon Lee was killed during a scene when another actor fired a gun at him. Although the round fired was indeed a blank, an unseen projectile lodged in the barrel beforehand was ejected with enough force to knock Lee on his back. Because the scene called for him to fall forward, the director yelled, "Cut!" But Brandon Lee never got back up, and he died hours later. Unlike The Crow, fate took a different path to the same horrifying results during Rust. The barrel of Baldwin's gun was clear. What he didn't know, however, is that there was a live round ready to fire. At 6:30 the morning of October 21st, 7 disgruntled employees showed up for work, collected their belongings, and walked out on the job. Could it have been sabotage? A lawyer for the beleaguered armorer thought so. But first, who do you think bears the most responsibility in the shooting? Tell us in the comments below. Then head to the community tab and take the poll to find out what other viewers said. If you find us informative and entertaining, please hit thumbs up, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you never miss an episode. MistRUST was a joint venture by writer and director Joel Sousa and Alec Baldwin, the film's producer. Dave Halls was brought in as AD, and Hannah Gutierrez-Reed was hired as master of both props and weapons. It would prove to be too tall an order, as Baldwin's passion project began with plenty of baggage. Gutierrez-Reed was preceded by a reputation built on her first role as an armorer, a film called The Old Way. Crew members say she drove Nicolas Cage to storm off the set after she discharged a prop weapon without warning. Then there was Dave Halls, who is noted for allegedly ignoring safety issues, including blocked exits and an unexpected firearm discharge. One crew member actually said this about Halls back in 2019. That man is a liability. He is going to fucking kill someone someday. In the first week following the shooting, police served several search warrants. They revealed that they took over 600 pieces of evidence, including 500 rounds of ammunition. The ammunition came in various forms and contained a mixture of dummy rounds, blank rounds, and live rounds. Dummy rounds are emptied of their gunpowder and closed up again. These rounds will obviously not fire and are used in situations when the director needs a close-up of their actor loading realistic-looking ammo. Blanks are used in productions when the director wants a loud bang and a muzzle flash. Actors have to provide a recoil on their own, as blank rounds cause minimal pushback when they leave the barrel. Blanks are made by removing the bullet. Before clearing the weapon for use on set, steps must be taken to ensure there is no foreign object lodged in the barrel. Whether it's a bullet, a rock, or some other pending projectile, it will become a deadly missile when a blank round is fired. On October 29th, Hannah Gutierrez-Reed issued a statement published in Variety. After expressing her condolences to Halyna's family, she went on to say she was being slandered. In her statement, she said she has no idea where the live rounds came from. She denied being responsible for 2 previous accidental discharges on the set, blaming them on Baldwin's stunt double. Nobody was injured in those mishaps, but knowing what we do now, it doesn't appear safety measures were tightened as a result. The $7 million production went ahead as scheduled. That's a lot of money to you and me, but in Hollywood, it's practically a shoestring budget, and some corners presumably needed to be cut. So they just rounded the corners right off. According to some in the crew, they worked 10 to 13-hour days and occasionally longer. The producers were providing hotel rooms that were about an hour away from the set, despite closer options. Several in the crew also alleged they were not being paid on time, with checks received up to 3 weeks late. However, a letter endorsed by 24 crew members on the film refutes these claims. They said no production is perfect, and Rust was no exception. But the good outweighed the bad, they said, and the show was run professionally. As we mentioned earlier, there was a walkout on the morning of the shooting. Those involved claim after voicing their concerns, they were told to leave the set or police would be called. They did so and were quickly replaced with non-unionized crew members. This was cited by the armorer attorney as a motive for sabotaging the prop gun with a real live round. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, however, and the lawyer was lacking the latter. There is so far no proof of foul play. Although nothing would surprise us at this point in our simulation universe, that does seem a bit too far to go for revenge, in our opinion. Although the shooting may not have been part of a plot, it was likely the result of careless actions. A report by the state of New Mexico on April 21, 2022, stated there were numerous violations. It says Hannah Gutierrez-Reed was green, having worked only very limited time in her field. The document further says David Halls witnessed 2 prior unintended discharges, and he did nothing to improve safety. Then he was ultimately the one who handed Alec one of the 3 guns prepared by Hannah and declared the gun was cold, meaning it was unloaded and safe for the actor to handle. According to the New York Post, witnesses on the set denied hearing Hall's call-out cold gun, contradicting Baldwin's claim. Whatever the sequence, the events that day triggered a $137,000 fine against the production company. From the beginning, Alec Baldwin has repeatedly stated that he did not pull the trigger. That's what he told police in October of 2021, George Stephanopoulos later that December, and journeyman journalist Chris Cuomo in August of 2022.
On August 13th, the FBI released their forensic report on the investigation. Throughout extensive testing, they determined that the gun could not be made to fire without a pull of the trigger. This doesn't sound like a huge revelation, but it directly contradicts Alec's claim that he did not pull it. That's not necessarily a lie, and his denial is convincing. Whether it was down to deception or misperception, the Bureau's documents left little doubt. The production of Rust was chaotic, to say the least. The flick was underfunded and the crew was overworked. Crew members did double duties and the execs doubled down on their do more with less approach. Disaster was sadly imminent in this maelstrom of mediocrity. Matt Hutchins, for one, blames his wife's death on Alec Baldwin. He ripped the actor in February of 2022 in an interview with Today. The 38-year-old widower was enraged when Alec said the following during his interview with George Stephanopoulos just 2 months after the tragedy. "Someone is responsible for what happened, and I can't say who that is, but it's not me." Hutchins slammed Baldwin for not accepting responsibility in this interview from February of 2022. The Hutchins family is suing him and Rust crew members, chiefly Hannah Gutierrez-Reed. Halyna Hutchins' legacy will live on, and part of the American Film Institute, where they've established a scholarship fund in her name. It's dedicated to supporting female cinematographers in their education. You can find a link to that charity in this video's description.
He may be crotchety, but he still has good hair. Tiffie Lou, you're married to a bald man. Oh, no. All right. I think I heard that Halyna's husband has sort of softened his stance on Baldwin, but I'm not sure. Let me know if I'm correct on that, if anyone knows. But the case against Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, who 41% of you think is responsible, 47% for Alec, and the new character, that suspect horse, should be put on the poll, but he probably gets the rest of the percentage. That's right. That's right. You do talk better than you type. All right. So here are the opening statements from day from day 1 of the trial. We're currently on day 4. And let me know what you guys think of the evidence against Hannah Gutierrez-Reed. And as I mentioned, she cleaned up nicely for the trial. She looks very presentable. None of the purple and green hair that we saw on the set. But she does have another interesting character sitting next to her at the defense table. And I was interested, especially in Tiffie Lou's commentary on that, but I'll leave it at that, and we'll start with the prosecutor here.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, Your Honor, counselors. My name is Jason Lewis, and I know that we were introduced briefly yesterday during
Yep, that is Hannah Gutierrez-Reed. Yep.
The jury selection process. I wanted to introduce myself again. My co-counsel is Carrie Morrissey, who most of you spoke to, at least in some to some degree yesterday. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Halyna Hutchins. This is the victim in the case that we're here to deal with this morning. Miss Hutchins was born in Ukraine on April 9th, 1979. She was married, her husband's name is Matthew, and she has one son who was 9 years old at the time of her death. As a child, Miss Hutchins lived on a Russian military base located in the Arctic. She took an early and keen interest in film and journalism. She studied both economics and journalism at the Kiev National University, where she received a degree in international journalism.
Oh, that explains your your comment, Tiffie Lou. But what do you? A lot of people were talking about the other person at the defense table on our left of the prosecutor, and I told Tiffie Lou earlier that this prosecutor reminds me of Vincent D'Onofrio from his criminal intent, or Law and Order criminal intent days, especially his slow and deliberate speaking style.
And like Ms. Hutchins, the defendant, Hannah Gutierrez, was also a behind-the-scenes member of the MistRUST crew. Ms. Gutierrez was hired to perform a dual role on the movie. She was hired to be both an armorer and a props assistant. As a props assistant, it was Ms. Gutierrez's primary duty to essentially go out and source and bring back to the film set everything that the actors need to touch as part of making the movie. So
she was the head or the only armorer and also the props person, which is, from what I've heard from movie industry experts, is never done. The armorer is always there to take care of the very important job of securing the firearms, and she did not allegedly do that.
For example, if they're doing a kitchen scene, then Ms. Gutierrez would have gone out, purchased plates, cups, glasses, forks, all of that sort of stuff, and then those would have been incorporated into the set.
I hope she's an attorney and we get to see her do some questioning at some point during this trial.
Ms. Gutierrez's other role was as the movie's armorer, and it's that role that really has brought us here today. You're going to be hearing a lot throughout this trial about the differences between live ammunition, blank ammunition, dummy ammunition. So I'm just going to kind of give you a 10,000-foot overview of what this stuff is. The image that's on your screen right now is what's called a blank round. A blank round is actually pretty easy to distinguish because it has that crimped end where normally a bullet would be. The second type of round that is used on the sets are what's called dummy rounds. And these are a different story. Dummies look exactly like real bullets. As you can tell from kind of that main image there, although this evidence dummy round has some writing on it, you wouldn't be able to distinguish that from a live bullet if you were just looking at it with your eyes.
And that third kind of bullet is a live round, which somehow ended up on the set. And I don't think we have a good answer for how that happened yet. But as you'll see later, that was not the only live round that was discovered on the set.
And because these dummy rounds are designed to look exactly like live ammunition.
Bye, Tiffie Lou. Love ya.
Every round has to be thoroughly checked before it is put inside of one of these firearms. Aside from sourcing firearms, blanks, and dummies for the movie, the next major function that Hannah was required to do on the movie set is that she was required to check every single one of these rounds to make sure that it's the appropriate blank or dummy and not live ammunition before it gets inserted into the gun. And there are two primary ways that an armorer or anybody who's familiar with this can check to make sure that a round is a dummy round. The first thing they can do is shake it, and if you'll see in that on the lower right hand side, I've got a photograph for you there of a plastic container that's got 3 BBs in it. Those BBs are inside of that dummy round so that whenever you shake it, you can audibly hear that it's making a noise, and that way you know it's a dummy round. Sometimes they have a little spring in there rather than these bullets, but they always have some sort of noisemaker in there. The other way to distinguish a dummy from a real live bullet is in that top right photograph, and you'll see that that cartridge has a hole drilled into the side of the casing. When it's time for a firearm to be used, the armorer is required to present the firearm to the first assistant director to double check that only dummy rounds are inside the gun. And the armorer is also supposed to offer the actor who is receiving the gun the opportunity to also have the gun inspected in front of them.
And so that's where on the day of the shooting, she at least broke protocol on that part. She did hand it to the director, didn't examine it with him, but she just left the church after that. She was directed to leave the church and did not get a chance to hand it to Alec Baldwin. That was the director, Dave Halls. So it will be interesting to see the result of this trial to, maybe get a gauge on what Mr. Hall's trial would be like if he was charged. I don't think he's even been charged.
Unfortunately, in this case, Ms. Gutierrez did not always adhere to these safety procedures, and you're going to hear from several witnesses who will testify that she often rushed through this critical step.
She seemed overwhelmed. You won't see it here, I don't think, but her prop table that had the guns on it it looked like my desk, quite frankly. Very cluttered, and I kind of know where everything is by just kind of unwinding where I left things, but you can't do that with I wouldn't bet my life on it,
And sometimes she skipped this check altogether. The evidence is going to show that on October 21st, it was a fairly chaotic day on the set of the movie.
Yeah, Wesley, I remember when that happened too. Brandon Lee shot on set. Much of the same kind of thing. It was a live bullet, I believe, in the gun.
The evening before, a group of camera operators who had some concerns about various safety issues on set sent an email to the production team indicating that they were going to be quitting. And so the next day, in response to this notice, the producers decided to push ahead with filming anyway.
There's we're going to move on. And part of the reason they walked off the set, by the way, is because just a few days before this, there was another accidental discharge from a prop gun.
And they decided to use less camera equipment than what was normally used. And they tried to just improvise and make do with what they had. I want you all to see what was going on. This is
So that's the motion he was making there in the church, practicing cross-drawing his weapon, looks like pretty quickly out of his gun belt.
Gives you an idea of what was going on that morning. Alec Baldwin was sitting on a church pew, and he was practicing this draw from his holster with the camera crew kind of close up on top of him.
And they were not filming at this part. So he didn't really even need to have the prop gun specifically. So
they completed that scene and they called for the lunch hour to occur.
Or my bad. Yeah, he was filming at that point, but not. I got ahead of myself, folks. Sorry.
So during the lunch hour, Ms. Gutierrez took the gun from Mr. Baldwin and she took it back to the safe, the gun safe that was loaded on a prop cart. You're going to hear.
Have a great snooze, a million sparkles. We love you, and we'll see you next time.
That on the day of the shooting, Ms. Gutierrez loaded the gun in the morning with 5 rounds. The revolver, though, is a 6-shooter, so it can hold 6 rounds, but in that morning, she only was able to load 5 of them. After the lunch break was over, Ms. Gutierrez retrieved the gun from the safe, and she cleaned that 6th hole and was able to put a 6th round into the 6th slot.
So that was after lunch. I know when I'm at work, and I'm, working on a project and then it's lunchtime, if I don't continue doing what I did just before lunch, I'm really prone to accidents or just, not life-threatening ones, but errors, because I forget where I left off before lunch, So I try to do it all at once, and it, who knows, maybe that contributed to her accident.
Ms. Gutierrez then took the firearm to the church and handed the gun over to the first assistant director, whose name is Dave Halls. Ms. Gutierrez and Mr. Halls then did a sloppy and incomplete safety check of the gun, where the dummy rounds were not removed from the gun and rattled or checked to see if they had a hole drilled in it. Instead, she just kind of cracked open the gun and partially spun the cylinder to show Mr. Halls a few of the rounds. She exited the church, and then Mr. Halls handed the firearm to Mr. Baldwin. As the blocking session was underway, Miss Hutchins and several of her crewmates were busily working, looking through and adjusting cameras, and Mr. Baldwin was sitting on that church pew.
I was wondering that myself, what the heck was on her head the other day. It seems to me like each progressive day she's toned down her look a little bit, but that's very unusual. Yeah, it does look like a tiara. Mystery solved, Miss Jackson?
Practicing how he would hold the gun for the upcoming filming session. As Mr. Baldwin was manipulating the firearm, he caused it to discharge, and that unfortunately sent a projectile flying directly at Miss Hutchins. The projectile shot completely through Miss Hutchins and then struck the film's director, Joel Souza, in the shoulder. A team of medical personnel worked to stabilize her, and they placed her on the life flight to UNMH. But sadly, the personnel at UNMH were unable to overcome the injuries that she sustained, and she was pronounced deceased at UNMH. We will show you, ladies and gentlemen, but
yeah, that's really sad. But they couldn't just, and I think they said it took like 45 minutes for the ambulance to get there because they were in such a remote location.
That by failing to make those vital safety checks, the defendant acted negligently.
And unrelated to that, T.S. Jackson, do you think Hannah has been receiving makeup tips from her neighbor there?
And without due caution, and that the decisions she made that day ultimately contributed to Miss Hutchins' death. There are some other ways that Miss Gutierrez was negligent on the set. We intend to call several witnesses to give testimony that she regularly failed to properly carry out her duties as an armorer. These witnesses are going to describe the defendant's conduct as unprofessional and sloppy. You will hear testimony that she routinely left guns and ammunition lying around the set unattended.
Wow.
And that her gun safe and ammo cart were constantly disorganized.
Yep.
This is a styrofoam container that has approximately 37 cartridges in it. According to the label on the outside of the box, these are supposed to be dummy cartridges. And I don't know if you've noticed yet, but there is one of these cartridges that doesn't look like the others. It's that one. with the red square, you can see that it has a silver primer.
And that's what really floored me. Just as a layperson, I can tell the difference. So you would have to be really, really trying hard not to look, I would think, to see that one time, let alone all the other times we're about to find out about.
Whereas all of the other ones have brass primers, the cartridge in that red box is a live bullet. So this was another live bullet that was found on the set, not just the one that was in Mr. Baldwin's firearm.
That's two so far.
Ultimately, you're going to hear from us that there were not just these two, but a total of 6 live bullets that were found on the set. 6.
Wow.
You're also going to hear that all 6 of those live rounds have the same, have common characteristics of having this silver or nickel covered primer. They were able to identify several points in time where the cartridges with a silver primer and a shiny brass cartridge ended up being spotted inside of the gun belts and bandoliers that the cast members were wearing on the set.
There could have been so many more accidents with the, putting in the ammo of the gun, taking it out, putting it in. Everything got mixed together, so it was like a crapshoot to when the next unplanned discharge would happen. It sounds like.
In fact, we found a photograph where there was one occasion where a live round was sitting right on Miss Gutierrez's lap, and she failed to identify it. We also have a little bit more evidence that these live rounds came onto the set via the defendant when she came to New Mexico from out of state. As you can see from this photo, this is the box of rounds. This is kind of a blown up photograph of the box of rounds that she was pulling from on the day of the shooting. And you can see that it has a very specific label on it. It says 45 long Colt dummies. And then in much smaller print there in the middle, you can see the initials JS.
Yep, Wesley Don Holmes, the highest stakes game of Russian roulette.
The defendant told Corporal Hancock that she thought this box was kind of peculiar and she wasn't certain where it came from, but she said that she didn't believe it was one of the boxes that was originally brought on set. But then the defendant offered to Corporal Hancock that the day prior to the interview, she had asked her father back home to text her a photograph of the box of 45 long Colt dummies that they had at his home. And she texted him, and he texted her this photo in response. It's identical. It's the same box. The box of dummies she was pulling from on the 21st is identical to the box of dummies that her father had at home.
So she brought those from home. Will we ever know then how the live round got on set that could have been mixed up in there accidentally years ago?
That's the bandolier that Mr. Baldwin was wearing on the 21st. There is a live round inside of that bandolier. The black belt that's in the lower right-hand corner is a...
I think I see 2 silver rounds in the upper right, don't I?
belt that was worn by another cast member. There's a live round in that belt too. The evidence you're going to hear throughout this trial is that the defendant was unprofessional and that she failed to do the essential safety functions of her job, and that these failures resulted in live ammunition being spread throughout this entire set.
And like someone said earlier, no one person was responsible. It was a chain of failures. But, even though she was working 2 jobs, she literally had one job, which was to maintain the ammo, the weapons, make sure they're safe, check them every time with every person that's going to touch it.
You're going to hear testimony that on the day that Miss Hutchins was killed, And after the defendant left her interview at the sheriff's office, she went back to her hotel. Knowing that the defendant had probably been through a lot that day, one of her crewmates went to her room to check on her to see how she was doing. And after they were done visiting, the crew member got up to leave, and as she was walking out of the room, the defendant handed her something and asked her to hang on to it for her. At first, this crew member didn't really realize what she had been handed, so she walked out of the room, started down the hallway, and when she looked into her hand, she realized she had been handed a baggie of suspected cocaine from.
Has that happened to any of you guys? Has anybody put a like in a movie, just secretly put a baggie of cocaine in your palm and then closed your palm for you?
The defendant. The defendant, over the next several weeks, texted this crew member several times asking her to return her stuff, which the crew member is going to testify is in reference to the baggie of cocaine.
And he said before she was texted to return her stuff, she'd actually disposed of it. She didn't want any part of it.
We're confident that after you hear from these witnesses and after you have an opportunity to look at the evidence for yourself in greater detail, you will agree with us that the defendant's actions were not only negligent on October 21st, but on many days leading up to the 21st. We hope that after you review this information, you will find her guilty of involuntary manslaughter. And after reviewing and hearing from the witness concerning the tampering charge, we believe that you will also convict her on the tampering with evidence charge as well.
All right. Yeah, so a good opening statement. I didn't clip up the defense statement, but essentially it was blame it all on Baldwin. Emphasized that he was the last line of defense, and it was that, and she was young, pretty much, is their argument. So let's see how this goes, and if anybody fell up her nose, yeah, maybe that was part of the problem. Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see if anybody else is charged with anything here. All right, Amy Day. And that reminds me, we have a few comments of the day. All right. The first one did not like our rash bomb. Little parody. You have to apply it, and then it lasts you about 25 to life. Demby Design says, this is really bad. You cannot mock defense lawyers for defending their clients, no matter how criminal those clients are. Of course, he's a felon's friend. That's his job. Hate the criminal, and I am with you all the way. The Adelsons are despicable, but blaming their lawyer is against the fundamental principle, the justice system. Everyone is entitled to defend themselves. You want to be taken seriously in the true crime sphere, then take the criminal justice system seriously. This just makes you look like yahoos and a little juvenile. So bad it's worth an unsubscribe. And they took their toys and went home. And I basically responded that, we weren't really mocking the man himself, but their ridiculous defense of the extortion on layaway plan. And then somebody commented below that, Super Cindy Sue, one of our insider information members, said, I love that they mock Rashi and that ridiculous defense strategy. Newsflash, dumb, but I see what you did there. That wasn't very nice, but I see what you did there, Super Cindy Sue. This is not the only channel that makes fun of it. You better grab some tissues for your issues. Yeah, many larger channels I've heard, he was even on Surviving the Survivor, did an interview with him, and I thought, how's this going to go? Because they've been kind of trashing his defense theory for a week now, you know. So yeah, many channels larger than ours were giving him a much harder time, I think. Yeah, very measured response for a person who's low on the humor game. Yeah, and you know, they're not going to enjoy our show if they don't like that. And we're not for everybody. I mean, we should be certainly, but we're not for everybody. And people like to take their toys and go home these days. All right, next was oh yeah, we're still getting a ton of comments on the Adelsons, and anytime I can talk about the Adelsons, I like to. Says Wendy outsmarted Donna and Charlie and used their character flaws against them. Charlie is the egotistical offspring of his wicked, controlling mother. Wendy knew both of them were capable of messing up her plan, and she insulated herself against them while reaping the benefits of their murderous acts. I completely agree. I think she's the smartest person in that family, by far. Yeah, she is shrewd. That's why you love it here. Thank you, Wesley. I think that was for me. Let's see. Oh yes, and then the last one, and I totally and anytime I can talk about Sarah Boone, I will do it. Not many updates on her. There've been a few court filings lately where the defense has requested funds for some independent experts, and I don't know how those are going to be handled yet, but that's the latest. Says, I love your letter reading as Sarah Boone or I absolutely love your letter reading as Sarah Boone to Tiffie Lou. I completely agree. All right. And, you know, we've had so few Sarah letters lately. It was like a spark of hope when that one came out the other week. So let's see if she gets itchy with this new attorney of hers. Hope she finally can get to trial. All right. So let's finish tonight by taking a little bit longer look at Amy Day here. And she is the woman that killed her mother. Was it on Mother's Day? I think pretty close to Mother's Day, if it wasn't the day of. And she's a really terrible liar.
Do you posit?
And so she's about
How you guys work?
Oops, sorry about that. She's about to explain her theory here on, you know, everybody's asking, where's mom? And she's told her own sister, I don't know where she is, but I know who she left with. And you're going to hear that in just a couple minutes.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. And when you pay the bills, like, you know, you give them, you get the payment to your mom, or do you deposit it to her account? How you guys work? How you guys work that out?
I give my mom the money.
Okay. Gotcha.
And before her mother's body was cold under those plastic flowers in her yard, Amy Day was going to town on her credit card.
Anybody that you guys might think that she had ever kind of trusted outside of the family? Like a specific church member or anything like that?
The only person she trusted outside the family was Marie and Harry.
Okay. And there are?
Their last name starts with a P. That's that house I showed you, the blue house on
Yes.
on Old Canoe Creek. That's Marie and Harry.
Okay.
She trusted them implicitly. She worked with them at Mercury.
Okay.
And her mother was an octogenarian, and she attempts to explain that she got a wild hair and went on a vacay, long-term vacay.
The only thing that I didn't get a chance to tell you because I kind of went past me. The neighbor that is not directly across over here, the one with the green car, the lady with her son.
Okay, if I'm facing your house, right?
Okay, no.
If I'm
Yeah, me too. As a mother, I find this stories like this scary as hell, she says. I was about to say that my 8-year-old daughter lies way better than Amy Day, and she's not a very good liar. But I have thought before of, you see all those episodes of Deadly Women or other, Dateline, where teenagers get together and they pay, some girl pays her loser boyfriend to go kill her parents. I hope we're not I hope we're not raising a killer.
Well, if I'm fixing your house and I'm doing it like an about face.
Okay,
now I got your house to my back.
Okay.
Okay.
The house.
The house, like right here.
Yes.
So if we're looking at the clock, 12 o'clock will be here. It'll be like about 11, 10 o'clock.
Right. She has the fence, 2 dogs. She has a green car, a son who drives a truck.
Okay.
She asked me something last night, but they told her that she needed to go. She couldn't talk to me. She asked me, and it didn't really register, but I mean, she asked me if I knew the woman who came to visit Mom, which I don't. I mean, I don't know who she's talking about.
You know her
There you go. She doesn't know anything.
name? The lady across the street. Do you know her name?
I don't really know our neighbors.
And another question I forgot to ask you yesterday. I know you mentioned something about the next door neighbor. That I don't know.
The one that's
They give you the Ouija. I don't know.
the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit more about that neighbor? Why?
The neighbor that gave her the heebie-jeebies, she said.
What does he make you feel? Oh, is it he or she?
He.
Okay. What does he make you feel like that?
I don't know. It's just, I guess it's a gut feeling. There's just something about him that just doesn't sit right with me. He just, it's like a couple of times. I mean, I actually started going inside. He came out. There was a couple of times that the woman's dad came over, and I was sitting on the back porch, and I don't keep a light on the back porch so that way people can't see me when I'm out there smoking.
Whole bunch of information not even related to the question here, Amy.
But I keep a flashlight with me. But he
Flashlight.
left out the back door, and their backyard kind of has a berm in the back.
Mm-hmm.
He went to the very back, crouched down, and the reason I can see this because there's planks missing from the hurricane that they never replaced. Crouched down, and I could see a light from his cigarette.
Good evening, Moments in Trading. How are you? Had quite a few comments about artificial intelligence this week on the channel, which they and I both find fascinating.
And he stayed there the entire time her dad was there. And that just was like really odd. And
no, yeah, that is not indeed Hannah Gutierrez-Reed. She actually cleaned up for court. So we took a look at her earlier. This is Amy Day, the woman that definitely killed her mother a few years ago around Mother's Day. And she looks a little bit older than her 45 years.
From there, it was like, okay, that just doesn't seem, So I kind of Mom and I just stay away from it, And when he was outside, I would go inside, and Mom would do the same thing. Because even she got the heebie-jeebies from him.
He said hi to you guys, say good morning, waved?
No, didn't
anything?
speak. No, he never. I mean, he never spoke to us. We never spoke to him. We never waved. We never even acknowledged.
How old
We never did anything with anybody, anytime, anywhere.
is this gentleman next door? Just approximate.
20s, late 20s, maybe 30. I would say late 20s. I don't know what he looks like close up, but from a distance, I would say mid to late 20s.
Gotcha.
I don't know.
He looked like a guy.
I'm not very good at estimating age.
No.
Just one more question. When Terry dropped you off, Carrie dropped you off.
And that is Carrie, her boyfriend. I don't know if it's Terry or Carrie. Terry.
He went inside, or he just dropped you off in the front?
Just dropped me off.
And he left?
Yeah, that's not unusual either.
Any additional questions? Take it roll.
Ooh, cop number 2 here gets a shot at Amy Day.
said your mom paid for your Ohio ticket. When was that purchased?
Saturday.
This Saturday?
And that Saturday, by the way, was the day of her mother's death. And Amy used her mother's credit card to buy a plane ticket for herself.
Do you know what time? Did you actually find them on the computer or something?
Yeah, I went to Spirit. She got all the stuff in there, and she put the card number in, and.
Okay.
I like it how Amy just trails off when she has nothing more to say, just hoping somebody else will pick up the conversation.
And do you know what time of day this was? Was it during the daylight hours?
Yeah, it was daylight.
Okay. So Saturday is the day you left to go to.
It was before I left.
Yeah. Okay.
So it was before 5.
I do the same thing, not necessarily when I'm lying, but sometimes mid sentence I'll lose interest in what I was talking about and just kind of trail.
Okay. And it was with Spirit Airlines?
Yes.
Did you get your confirmation in the email or something like that?
I did, and I gave it to one of the officers. It's flight 4060. I leave at 10:50 in the morning.
Okay. And when's that?
On Friday.
On Friday. And you said that you know a lot about your mom's financials. I guess you try to help her. She's an older woman. Does she have multiple accounts? Does she have multiple credit cards? Do you know what kind of financial credit?
She knows every single credit card her mother has.
She has?
To my knowledge, she has a GM card, and that's because she has one, and she has me also on it. She has an Up Promise card, which we both have. She has one, and I have one of my.
What's a Promise card? I've never heard of that.
It's called Up Promise. It's just like a Visa or MasterCard.
Okay, it's a credit card.
Yeah.
Okay.
She has one, and she has one with my name on it. We share PIN numbers, and same with the GM card. And then she has her CFE Platinum credit card through the bank. Her ATM card.
Okay.
And I think that's it.
And what did she use to buy your plane ticket?
Her CFE Platinum card.
Or credit card, not the ATM card?
No.
Okay. All right.
And Amy Day, believe it or not, I forgot what her exact job title was, but she had a pretty prestigious job back in the day before drugs, went on to wreck everything in her life and ultimately cost her life as well as her mother.
How is Tasha a great friend of yours? I'm assuming you guys.
She was a manager at Siggy's in St. Cloud, and that's how we met her. And she transferred to Orlando.
Shout out to Ziggy's in St. Cloud.
And she still comes to St. Cloud and brings the cigarettes to us.
I don't get that. Brings the cigarettes to you. What's that mean?
She rolls the cigarettes, and for $30, she brings Mark, me, and Judy the 200 cigarettes, which is equivalent to a carton. And
that's right. Thank you, MIT. Amy was the person who greeted people at the airport, like when politicians came from out of town. That's right. Thank you.
It's only $30, but it's pure tobacco.
Oh.
And so she just brings them and drops them off at Mark's shop.
I got you.
Yeah.
So.
He has no idea what she just said. Oh, I get you.
It takes a lot of patience to do that.
They have a big machine.
Oh, okay.
You just tell them what brand, and you make sure you tell them, they put it in the computer, and you can pick mild, but it just doesn't have all the additives and all that other stuff in it. You pour it in the machine, and it'll do like 200 cigarettes in a matter of minutes.
Okay.
And it's only $30.
And Sunday, you said after you got dropped off, and
I remember when cigarettes started getting really expensive, my friends would buy those big pouch of tobacco in the cigarette rolling machine. When I quit smoking in 2010, a pack of cigarettes was like $3 or $3.50, I think. And I think they're over 10 now, aren't they?
Before Judy gets there,
I met her and swapped them out
and where'd you meet?
at Westgate.
What's that? What's Westgate?
Westgate in St. Cloud, where CFE is, where Big Lots is.
Big Lots.
Yeah. And it was where Siggy's used to be. There's another store there now. But she came to the window. I handed her the menthol one. She handed me that. I now went out the, what is it? Is it CVS? Right down the corner. I went out there, turned, and went up Old Canoe Creek, Pine Tree, up to Rambler to the house.
And then you went home.
Yeah, and I called Judy, and she was there 2-3 minutes.
And you called Judy before.
Wait, what? 50 Australian dollars a pot, a pack now? Wow. Holy moly.
She got there, or
I called Judy before she got there.
Yeah, I would too, Nanya.
I opened the front door.
Marie and Harry, you guys know real well.
Yeah.
And does your mom talk to them on a regular basis?
Yes.
Would you say daily basis?
And for those of you wondering, 50 Australian dollars equals $32.59 for us Yankees.
I wouldn't say daily, but regular, yes.
Okay. You have to say it's odd that your mom hasn't contacted anyone.
Yes.
Since we left yesterday, I know you did have your phone, but has anybody been trying to call your mom?
I don't know.
Okay, have you, or your dad, or anybody where you were staying last night, have they been trying to call your mom?
Well, I don't think my dad did, no. But I don't think my dad wouldn't, because I don't know if my sister has.
Did you talk to your sister since you left here last night?
No.
Still cheap cigarettes in Japan, Wesley?
When I got to Dad's, she was, I'm sure, already asleep, and I would sleep, and when I got up,
Did you
called
sleep?
a couple hours,
Did you?
and I called you, and from what I understand, Dad said she had already left to go to work, and she says she doesn't like getting calls at work, so that's the reason I haven't.
Talked to Judy.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what it's saying. Yeah.
Complained $1.25. Yeah. We complained when gas was $1.25 as well, didn't we?
Tried to call her or anything.
To my understanding, she's in training, so I mean, he's getting phone calls at work, unless it would be from you guys.
Right.
Me calling, have you heard anything, would irritate her, and I don't want to do that. So.
So there you go. Case closed.
That and her and my dad don't speak, so she wouldn't call my dad's house.
Right.
And if I called her from my dad's house, she wouldn't answer.
Why is that? Why don't they talk?
They had a falling out.
Yes, Sarah Boone was so pissed when she couldn't smoke. She showed more emotion for that than for the murder. Yeah, she showed more emotion for that damn Dr. Pepper than she did for George.
A couple of years back, and they haven't spoke. Judy considers my dad dead to her, so. They have absolutely nothing to do with each other. So she wouldn't answer her.
What about Mark and her son? Do they talk to your dad at all? What's the shit?
They used to have a gate between the property, and Dad and Katie went to Tennessee, and when they got back, they had removed the gate and put the fence up in place of it.
Okay.
It was over my niece. She got hurt. Nobody said anything, and it was a little thing that turned into this huge drama mountain, and it went from there.
Hi, Maddie Lou. Well, Maddie Lou has just walked in. Maddie, we were just saying that this lady on the screen here, you can't hear her because I have my headphones in, but we were saying you're a better liar than she is. Do you think you're a good liar? She's just standing behind me, staring ahead and nodding her head. creepily, a little creepily.
I tried everything to get him to reconcile, and I finally surrendered.
How long was that happened?
I have a
2
thing
years.
for creeping people out.
What's that?
I have a thing for creeping people out.
You have a thing for creeping people out? Is it because me and Mama are your parents? Yeah. I figured.
Maybe.
Shame.
Could be 3 years, for all I know. I know at least 2. So, if I called from my dad's house, there's no way Judy would answer.
Has any family member called your dad or call your dad trying to reach you?
No.
And try to, you know what I mean?
No family member.
You have anything that the family members are talking? You know how it is. You know how families are.
No family member knew I was at my dad's.
Gotcha.
By the time I got to my dad's, I didn't make any phone calls because
You have to sleep. You're
well,
tired.
well, I didn't go directly to sleep, but it was like 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
I don't believe anything she's saying. All right, we got a couple minutes left here, and then we'll wrap it up and do the next part next time. And we have part 2 of Amy Day coming shortly for our insiders. You can go to the membership tab and find out all the perks there for $3 a month. And also, we have the entire transcript of the Dolce Vita recording against Charlie Adelson with Catherine Magbanua, who I like to refer to as K-Mags. Since the audio quality was not great on that, we put the whole transcript through an AI version of Charlie's voice, and I think it came out pretty good. We released the audio to insiders a couple days ago, and I'm currently working on graphics and things for the whole video. So I think you guys will like that. And that'll be for all viewers when I finish the video.
So, and I'm not saying that my other family members weren't awake, but a lot of them, anybody on my mom's side of the family wouldn't recognize my dad's phone number. So, and honestly, I couldn't remember my Aunt Joy's number because it's in my phone. And she would be and Marie, I don't know her phone number off the top of my head. So, there was not many those were 2 people I would have called, but I couldn't remember their phone numbers.
Where are you going to stay when you get to Ohio?
I have a friend, Melissa Smith. She has a house, and I'm going to be staying there until I find a place.
And spoiler alert, that would never happen. Her friend Melissa Schmidt graciously offered her a job, I believe, working out of her home, but then gradually came to have second and third and fourth thoughts once she talked to Amy a little bit more, and she was sounding like Charlie or Donna on the phone, full of Xanax.
Okay. Let's go check on that phone real quick.
Yeah. I'll be right back, okay? You need anything?
No, thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'll be right back.
And yeah, they wouldn't be right back. When police leave the room, we just have this other thing we have to do. They leave you in there by yourself for a long time by design. So I can't remember how many minutes Amy Day sits on this one, but we'll pick it up when the police enter the room. You'll be the first to know. And thanks for hanging out late with us tonight, everybody. I really enjoyed it. Wesley John Holmes, Nunya, Sparkles, Moments of Trading, all y'all that were here. We really appreciate you. And take a look at the bottom of the screen there. Those are our insiders, and we appreciate the support. So next time on Friday, Tiffie Lou will be back with me, and we will see you then. Bye-bye, everybody. I really need a closing line. So best one wins a cookie.